Tales from the Darkside the movie is perhaps one of the most overlooked entries in anthology horror, containing 3 compact stories: a campus revenge tale with a very unhappy mummy, a dark justice caper where a black cat sells debts better than any lawyer, and a tragic gothic lover's vow that turns into petrified regret. Wrapped around all of it is Debbie Harry as a witchy dinner party hostess and a quick-thinking kid reading the book that binds all these stories together. And despite a cast that sneaks in names like Steve Buscemi, Christian Slater, Julianne Moore, and James Remar, it often gets elbowed out of the conversation by more flashier titles like Creepshow or Tales from the Crypt. Greetings all you movie junkies and entertainment lovers, and today we're going to be talking about Tales from the Darkside, the movie. I've already talked about the original Tales from the Darkside TV series previously, but for those less familiar, it was a fun, spooky little anthology gem that served up bite-sized horror, dark comedy, and moral twist endings in roughly 30-minute doses. Created by George Romero, the show was originally meant to be Creepshow the series, but due to rights issues changed its name to Tales from the Darkside. The show specialized in everyday people stumbling into uncanny situations, cursed objects, bargains gone wrong, and ordinary nightmares made literal, all wrapped in sly satire and economical storytelling, running for about 4 seasons with a total of 90 episodes. Then, in 1990, came Tales from the Darkside the movie, a feature film adaptation with much of the same sensibilities and people involved, and uses a macabre framing story with Debbie Harry as Betty, a suburban housewife witch planning a dinner party whose main course is a poor kid, Timmy, played by a young Matthew Lawrence, a kidnapped paperboy who must stall being cooked alive by reading from a book titled Tales from the Darkside. This wraparound works as a really great framing device that lets each story play out like an extended episode of the TV series. The first story is Lot 249, which follows Edward Bellingham, played by Steve Buscemi, as a grad student cheated out of his scholarship by entitled classmates, and in revenge he reanimates a cursed Egyptian mummy to dispatch them. A pretty basic story to start with that is definitely the weakest of the 3, but still a very fun watch, with its full-on gore and dark comedy. The second story is Cat from Hell, which was originally going to appear in Creepshow 2 before it was scrapped for budgetary reasons, and has William Hickey as Drogon, a wheelchair-bound millionaire who's convinced his black cat is on a mission of vengeance, and after it allegedly killed 3 of his family members, he hires hitman Halston to kill the feline, which proves to be harder than he initially thought. Drogon also explains that his drug company once tortured 5,000 cats in a lab, so he believes that this black cat is here to exact revenge. And of course Halston fails, and the cat literally scrawls its way down his throat. This segment, written by George Romero based on a Stephen King short, feels very Creepshow-esque, with a gruesome death and a sardonic twist. Compared to the Mummy story, it's a lot quieter, but the dark justice theme is wonderfully heavy and grim. The third, final, and probably best story is Lover's Vow, which follows a struggling artist, Preston, played by James Remar, who works under the gaze of a gargoyle statue. But one night after he and a friend are leaving a bar, they encounter a living gargoyle. The friend is decapitated, and Preston is marked on his chest as the gargoyle makes him swear never to speak of this. In return, Preston's life sees sudden success. But 10 years later, Preston breaks his vow and tells his wife, whom he had met that same night 10 years ago. What happens next should really be experienced for yourself, but let's just say it's both tragic, terrifying, and will stick with you long after the credits roll. It might not sound like much, but the payoff really makes it work. It's a slower and more moodier story, complete with gothic shadows and creeping dread instead of outright gore. Director John Harrison, who directed many episodes of the Darkside TV series, delivers a tight, workmanlike anthology film that doesn't shy away from its budgetary constraints, balancing horror and humor. The production design and cinematography punch above their weight, with gothic sets, low-key lighting, and rich color palettes giving each segment a distinct mood. And Harrison's pacing keeps the anthology zipping along without dragging. And while horror anthologies boomed in the 80s and 90s, this movie often gets skipped over. The first two Creepshow films set the template, and Tales was almost Creepshow free in everything but the name, and it's not hard to see how it would have been made as Creepshow free. In fact, many of the crew from Creepshow, including effects legend Tom Savini, worked on the film, leading many fans to call it the true Creepshow free, rather than the actual Creepshow free, which less said about that, the better. Overall, Tales from the Darkside the movie stands as a fun, freaky entry in 90s horror anthologies. It may not have launched a big, successful new franchise, but it delivers exactly what genre fans crave: inventive stories, practical effects, and a sardonic edge. And this movie overall does deserve a second look, especially with its strong cast, memorable monsters, and clever storytelling, making it a cult favorite waiting for more fans. And in the age of streaming revivals and horror nostalgia, Tales is a perfect rediscovery, like finding a dusty anthology tape in the vault that still packs a punch and a smirk. Thanks for watching this review. Be sure to subscribe for more videos. Until next time, be sure to consume as much entertainment as humanly possible, and I'll see you in the next video.